Okay, so this is a video which is going to go through the theories of aggression, and this is for the OCR Physical Education A-level specification, and this is potentially for a 20 mark that may come up, which may ask you to critically evaluate the theories of aggression, or it could be a question on an individual theory, which will be a shorter question, maybe a 4 or 6 marker question. So the first theory we're going to look at is trait theory, and this is by Freud. We've got a quote here: aggression is a genetically inherited, a trait of violence lies with everyone. And this is a quote which sums up what trait theory is about. And we've got some key words under here and some key bullet points which you need to include in order to get the marks when you're explaining trait theory. And the bold words are the technical words that you need to use in order to impress the examiner. So we've got here innate, which means it lies within us, and it is stable, which means it's unlikely to change, and enduring, so we're likely to have that trait for a long time. Those 3 words go with any trait theory that you look at, not just aggression. The next thing you need to remember is that it's a personality characteristic, and we get this from the genetics of our parents. So if our mum is generally quite aggressive, then it's likely that it's going to pass down from her genetics to us. The next thing is that it's thought to be a response to protect or survive, and this is thought to be from our prehistoric times, where we were cave people and we had to protect our home, our fire, our food, our family, and we had to protect it from maybe other tribes or from animals. So it's thought to be something that's within us that we've had for quite a long time. It's also thought to be triggered through stress or high arousal. The next point you can add is that it can be caused by a retaliation in something. Right, we've got a practical example here. So if a father is aggressive when he plays football, it is likely the son will have this personality characteristic and could intend to harm others as well. The practical example is something you can add to kind of back up the theory. And you also need to add some critical points. So what's against the theory? What sort of things could you say that show that the theory doesn't always work? And we've got the buts. So that's called the buts. And the first but we have is not all people are aggressive. It is a natural if it is a natural personality characteristic, why are some people placid? So in your daily life, you'll come across some people that are generally more aggressive than others. You'll come across people that are very placid and calm and never act aggressively. So if it is a natural personality that we've all got within us, it is innate, then why are we all not aggressive? That's the first thing that you could talk about. The second thing is that aggression is shown by different people at different times, and it often depends on the situation. So it doesn't take into account the situation that you're in. It's basically saying that if you have this aggression trait within you, that you're going to be aggressive in most situations. It doesn't take into account maybe if people are being hostile. It doesn't take into account the sport you're playing. It doesn't take into account the mood that person's in at the time. The next theory we're going to look at is frustration aggression hypothesis, which is by Dollard. And the thinking behind this theory is that frustrating circumstances blocks your goal. And an example of this is maybe having a poor rugby game and not performing well. Obviously, your goal in that rugby game is to perform well. And if you do not perform well and you're having a poor game, it's going to block your goal. Another practical example is a perceived unfairness of an official in netball, for example. So the netball official you could be thinking that they're giving decisions to the other side, to the other team. And this is frustrating you, and it's also blocking your goal because you want to win the game and you think the official is being unfair. So this frustration, what you need to talk about is that it causes the aggression. It's the frustration that causes that aggression in you. Now, aggression is shown to achieve catharsis, and catharsis is a feeling of relief or to relieve the frustration. So when we act aggressively, so for example, when we shout very aggressively at a referee, we we can sometimes feel relief and a release of that frustration. Similarly, if you are really angry because you missed an open goal in football and you kicked over all the water bottles really, really hard, you kicked them all over, that feeling of relief and the release of that frustration is called the catharsis. Now, if aggression is punished, it can lead to more aggression and a lack of catharsis. So, in most sports, if you're aggressive, you do get punished. So, if I did shout at the referee, swear at the referee, I'd be punished. And that actually leads to me getting actually more aggressive. And I don't feel any relief. I don't feel any release of the frustration. So, the buts, the things that don't back up the theory. So we do not all behave like this in frustrating circumstances. So if in a game of football, for example, we get frustrated because we think the referee's being unfair, we don't always act aggressively. So some people are different, basically. It doesn't take into account differing circumstances. So there could be a circumstance where it's the final of a cup in football and it's really, really important. Or it could take into account it's a friendly game and that it's people are not being aggressive. The main point you can add here, which really shows how the theory doesn't work sometimes, is that aggression is never satisfying for most and can lead to regret. So if you are aggressive in a sporting context and you swear at the referee or you kick over the water bottles, for most people they don't feel catharsis, they don't feel a relief, they actually feel regret and they feel embarrassed about their actions, and they feel bad, really. They don't feel good about it at all. That's what some people feel.